pinging the visitor center. And last but not least, go live on Spatial. Hooray.
Well, confetti.
All right, so we'll probably start in about 10 minutes to give people time to gather, but we can talk about this stuff. So, I mean, yeah, I sent you these images and I think they just need to be maybe cropped out of their frames for them to work with the tool, but.
Yeah, that's why I suggested the high-res ones, just because I think the low ones have that tan.
I think the high-res ones are like extremely large, though.
Yeah, they might be too heavy.
I think the interesting thing about this UrbanistAI tool is the way that you've built in the sort of governance part of it, where people vote and stuff and like collaborate. Yeah, I'm really interested in the process. Over here, some of the slides we put up on the stair side have like a map of sort of the design process, how to do co-design using generative AI. Welcome Matthew from Strata. Matthew's a regular at Spectra from Strata, is a landscape architecture firm from UK, and they've been building virtual versions of some of their projects up in here in Spatial. They also designed a very cool prefab wheelchair that you can ride in a wheelchair inside this platform. And it's quite realistic in terms of like making certain areas inaccessible to you.
Huh. I may need to ask you a favor, guys, because like I don't have Photoshop or anything to cut. Oh, no, I can do it with preview. I can do a preview. All good. Okay, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I might even take a screenshot like of this view from where we're standing. That might be a cool one as well. Actually, let me see. Maybe in camera mode, I can get a better angle. What is the best camera angle for these shots, do you think? Like eye level on the street?
Oh, it works with anything, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, the aerial is not the best. Like the best kind of in a way would be to use the kind of street views.
Okay.
Just so because kind of that's how usually people perceive cities, yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna try taking one from this angle. Okay, I'm gonna send you another one. I think I can send this one on LinkedIn probably. Oh, maybe not. It's actually really big. Didn't notice. Okay, I sent another one from this space.
Steve, hey everyone else, we're meeting over at this corner over here, and we'll be starting in a few minutes if you want to gather in this general area. reminder that if you want to talk, you can use the chat in the bottom right of your screen, or you can also unmute your mic.
I think this browser allows my main doesn't seem to work in our browser.
Huh.
Right? You can hear me?
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Steve, we can hear you.
Awesome. Well, we'll probably wait 2-3 more minutes, and then we can start. What happened to our screen? Oh, we're not doing the screen share anymore. We're just going to walk around. So this will be our exhibit for the week.
I think Damiano had rejoined the scene.
Oh, yeah.
My
I guess it
browser
disappears.
crashed.
I guess it disappears when the host of the screen share leaves, which makes sense.
Because if I'm not connected, I guess.
Yeah. I went to a talk last week, which had 3 AI researchers, and one of them works at Foster Architects, and they were just talking about like how they're using models for site research and stuff. Oh, neat.
So they kind of use AI to not so much to generate, but to kind of analyze.
They kind of use it to like scrape social media and sort of like do site research about the places.
Oh, right, nice.
I guess Foster is more of a firm that is focused on making the ideas for projects.
You're
and
talking
the
so for picking a site for a development to happen. You're talking.
No, for like researching the site, so like making the development speak to the context of the place. I think they heavily research the areas that they're working in.
All right, so it sort of gets a general feel of the architectural styles and things like that.
Right, like the climate, all the the slices of the place, like the multiple angles, I guess. So using machine learning to dig through all the data seems like one use. In general, it seems like the AI, for like the bigger architecture firms, that AI is being used in the early stages, and then the later stages of the projects. Although I guess there's some ML that is being used to like optimize the use of their materials and stuff, figure out what designs use less materials. But I'm really interested in this side of it, where it's more like public participation and co-design. So it should be interesting. Let's get started. So I'm gonna do a quick intro about Spectra. First of all, my name is Nick Kaufman. I'm the community manager at Spectra. I'm inhabiting Spectra's sort of avatar right now. Oops, the pink hair here. This is we have our pro spatial account tied to this avatar. I want to tell you all a little bit about Spectra. I know everyone's a regular, so I'll go through pretty quick, but for anyone watching on YouTube, Spectra is a virtual city and community that is working on real life urban design projects using virtual tools. So our new tagline is that we generate ideas from pixels to bricks. And this city was designed by our partners Numina, an architecture firm that specializes in VR. And this concept of this city we're standing in right now is a car-free city based around classic low-rise density concepts from places like Barcelona, Tokyo, and so forth. And this city is simply a suggestion for many ways that you might alter or change it. And so it was built to be edited by its inhabitants. Even in the real life version of it, each block is supposed to be cooperatively governed and has the option to change its space. And so today we're having a talk from Damiano Cerrone from UrbanistAI, who is using a tool for doing code design using generative AI, which is quite interesting for a city like Spectra, since the residents of each of these blocks are supposed to have a huge amount of agency. So tools like this that could help people make decisions together about their spaces are extremely interesting. We'd like to learn more, but to stay in touch with Spectra community, there's a couple ways. We're here on Spatial all the time. You can hop into the space all the time and see which exhibit is on and who's talking next week and so forth. Our meetups are every Thursday. We have a Discord community that is linked here at the left of the entrance to this space. The pink banner has a link to our Discord. And this is a place where placemakers of the physical variety and virtual world builders of the digital variety can come together, share skills and knowledge, and talk about the future of our cities. If you explore the rest of this space, you might find some links to some of our other spaces and some new prototypes for block that you can walk around the whole structure of the block over here. And in the back, there's a link to a real life project that some of the team is working on right now. So feel free to explore, get in touch, and hang out in our Discord. That's it. I'm going to introduce Damiano now. And, oh God, I need to pick up your bio again. 1 second. Just scroll way up for that one. All right, so Damiano Cerrone is an urbanist, researcher, and educator. He co-founded Spin Unit, an urban research and innovation practice, and UrbanistAI, a participatory design platform to reimagine the future of our cities. His practice focuses on urban research and policy design for the public sector. Cerrone is also affiliated with and teaches at several academic institutions in Finland and abroad. And I'll let you take it from there, Damiano. Let me know if you need any help.
Yeah, thanks for the intro. Well, cool. Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm happy to be here, actually. First time in the metaverse. And I must say it's quite cool, actually. Well, so I think if you can follow me, I can tell you more about what I do and what we're doing in UrbanistAI.
All right, this is a walking presentation.
Here.
So
let's see you guys are coming.
Use your WASD keys to walk around if you're on keyboard. You can also click the ground.
Right. So yeah, UrbanistAI basically is a generative AI platform, as you said, to reimagine the future of cities. And the reason why we started to work on this is that, well, we really wanted to relink the sort of energy that people have, communities have, to reimagine their own cities, and the power that public offices have to actually make things happen, right? So quite often you have, let's say, cities having the actual, agency to transform public space, but they lack the energy that people have, and vice versa. A lot of local communities have a lot of energy, but not the power to do that. So what we started to do, we started to kind of understand how participatory design is done today in cities, and pretty much based on post-its, actually. So you would have just these kind of large workshops with, 20 to 100 to several hundreds of citizens, stakeholders, business owners, and so on, coming together to reimagine the future of their cities. And quite often what they use is post-its. Nothing wrong with post-its, but the issue with that is that, well, as humans, we really work mostly with visual association. So we can best relate to cities when we can actually kind of have an image that we can reference to, right? So we can just tell, I would like this street to look more like that. I would like this square to look more like the other square. So if you follow me, I can show you kind of what we started to do basically here. You can see there is a kind of a poster with several bubbles. What we started to do, we started to basically use generative AI to transform people's ideas into visual realities so that they could better express themselves. So the overall point here, it's not to use AI to sort of design the city. You still need architecture firms, you still need the knowledge, the expertise to actually, let's say, kind of make a model. But what we need a new way to communicate our ideas. So we have kind of 3 different type of engagement kind of modes. We do participatory planning sessions. So the example there is from Helsinki. The city of Helsinki is closing 2 streets from cars and opening them to pedestrian. So for the whole summer of this year, 2 streets are going to be converted from kind of car-oriented to pedestrian-oriented. And what we've done is that we have had the city architects together with the architecture offices that are in charge of redesigning the street, together with citizens. And what we basically do is that when citizens speak out, like, okay, I would really like to see the street having maybe kind of a bike lane here on the right, or I would like to have this street to have kind of a lamppost in the center, or have kind of benches on the left. So as people speak, they can actually see in real time how their idea would look like. This is super important, actually. It sounds like a small thing, but why it's super important is because it balances out the capacity of people to reimagine the city with the technical skills that the architects have. So basically what we can do right now is that we can empower citizens by allowing them to express themselves. You might wonder, you can do that with DALL-E and so on. Yeah, sure, but it's quite different because like we have a kind of a whole ecosystem in which people can actually, let's say, change the urban space, present their ideas with a real image, so the painting technology is so much better in this case. And also, we have a voting system, so polling system. People can vote for their favorite images. So we build democracy within the tool so that anyone can basically not just express their thoughts and imagine the future, but they can also basically collectively decide which are their favorite kind of pictures. And those two images that you see here are quite important because they're under construction right now. So they're going to open those two streets on the, I think, 12th of June. So basically it was kind of a very interesting workshop, and we'll see how they will look like. But we also do this kind of with universities. So if you follow me here, this is kind of one recent workshop we've done in Czech Republic, because one of the core issue is it's actually, let's say, upskilling. So now we have AI, now we have all these technologies, but we don't really know yet how to use them in participatory planning as much in architecture and so on. So we started kind of an academic program where we are basically bringing generative AI in the universities. So this is also kind of a very interesting application. But maybe we'll just go to the last one, and then I'm going to show you how the platform look like. And by the way, you guys can speak, I guess, right? You can ask questions, and
yeah, feel free to ask questions or type anything in the chat.
Right. So kind of in general, kind of how city planning offices can use it is that they can use that internally. So kind of planning office can use UrbanistAI to sort of evaluate design solution that comes from architecture offices. Then you have, let's say, kind of quickly brainstorming kind of a new idea. So you don't need to hire an architecture office all the time, which is not a bad thing actually, because the way we are changing a bit the process is that you first have the collective intelligence expressing their needs and wishes with UrbanistAI. And then the architecture offices, they can start to focus on the quality, because right now they need to kind of bounce back and forth all the time. So they make some kind of rendering, some kind of ideas. The citizens usually push them back because they don't really understand why certain design decisions are taken. They don't understand why certain things are designed in certain ways. So it's very easy for a citizen to say, I don't like it. So then the architecture office has to do everything from scratch, and it goes on for months and months. But this way, we open the conversation between citizens and the architecture offices, so they can actually communicate with each other. So this is kind of super interesting. Yeah, and I guess I can just show you how it looks like, because I guess that's the fun part. Let's go downstairs.
Now you can double jump in Spatial if you jump twice. This is a new feature.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of faster decision making, right? Because usually you would need to go from session to session, month after month. But this way, like we did in Helsinki, you can have basically within one day, you can produce these kind of visions. And since both the policymakers and the architects basically are there in the same kind of room, they can together take the decision on, hey, let's go for this kind of design, let's go for that kind of design. And then the architects can basically do their own job undisturbed. they don't need to make like, another session. They can just kind of focus on delivering some interesting high quality drawings, and construction drawings as well. Yes. So, and well, it doesn't always need to be, let's say, either a kind of a real construction project like in Helsinki. For example, in the city of Dubai, so we were invited because we got selected by the OECD as one of the 9 innovation of the years, and part of this was that we displayed and used UrbanistAI in the Global Government Summit in Dubai. And the way it worked, it's that basically kind of anyone who was coming to the conference had this kind of large touch screen from which they could just pick any image in Dubai, let's say this one, and use some kind of predefined ideas. So let's say, okay, that's the area. Let's just reimagine that area. How would it look like if it was I don't know, let's have a look. How would it look like if it was let's say, maybe a corridor with food trucks, whatever, let's see. Right, so basically you don't always need to have a real project. It is just very nice sometimes to have these occasions in which citizens are just invited to show their ideas, right? So you don't always need to have like a concrete project. So you can just invite people to reimagine how the city would look like.
I like how
and
you
this
have
in
these,
itself, basically, it's
those categories like of the types of things that are pre-selected, like a menu, so that people sort of know a little bit about the different urban design categories of place, and then they can choose.
Yeah, because you can have a conversation, right? So yeah, that's right. Because you kind of, I think the first thing we figured out is that which is the reason why participatory planning is so difficult, is that if you ask somebody, how would you like the street to change? It's a really difficult question. I mean, even for a full kind of blown architecture office is a difficult question. Like knowing and understanding what you want in its own is a different question. Kind of trying to even imagine it physically, it's even more difficult. So the way it works is that like we give this kind of like if it's kind of a candy shop type of approach. Okay, look, would you like to put nature here? Would you like to build a square? Would you like to redesign the street? What is that you want to do? So somebody might say, yeah, I would just like to change the street. Great, street. Now you have different options. Is it about greenering? So it's about having walkways that are shaded. Is it about having a cyclist-friendly street? Or do you want to do something a bit more bold, like build a promenade? So let's try promenade or shopping street even more. Okay, shopping street, great. Now you have a shopping street. Is that it? Or would you like to add some amenities? Would you like to add some attractions there? Okay, maybe let's just have a drinking fountain. Okay, great. So now you can test how this idea of having shopping street with a drinking fountain in the city of Dubai look like. So what's beautiful is that you can also test for bad ideas, right? You can also check if some ideas are actually good ideas or if some ideas are bad ideas.
Yeah.
Mike being
And that's
slow
yeah.
it down. I can only look at it morphing at that speed for like 3 seconds before it gets me.
Is that the loading screen kind of like that animation?
Like, yeah.
Is it correct?
Are we looking at something else besides that
I think that
different that morphing image?
I think it was just showing it like the loading animation, basically. It was just an aesthetic way to show that it was.
Yeah, that's the loading animation. Yeah, we
Okay.
need to change that actually.
Okay.
That's loading animation.
The animation reminds me a
and-
bit of some of the earlier work of digital artists like Rafiq Anadol, which until recently had been very exclusive to large teams with large artistic and software skills. So it's kind of cool that it's becoming more open to everyone in that type of platform.
Yeah, I kind of like it. So we have some actual Spectra images here. This is so cool. I'm so excited. So these images
Yeah, these kind of nice.
These were made by an actual ArchViz studio that took Spectra and tried to see what it would look like in very high fidelity.
Yeah, these are great actually. These are really great renderings.
But they only
So right
commissioned
now it's
5
kind
of
of-
them. So they got them to make 5 of these images for us, right? But now with those 5, we could actually like produce a lot of variations using these tools, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
With
it's a
those,
whole
you can do a
forest.
lot. So
Different trees.
yeah, put a forest on top.
Yeah.
It's funny
And
how
you
they
can kind of,
put
you
a
see here, there are kind of
skyline
stars.
in the back.
Oh yeah, the skyline. I didn't notice.
Oh, yeah,
The top left. Neat.
that's quite cool.
I like how it kind of was like, yeah, this is gonna be outside this, because like we have this. Most of the city is like 5 to 8 story, and so like it's interesting. They're like, this must be outside the urban center.
Yeah, and this kind of is just kind of the point of the speed. Of course, we can also increase the quality and make it slower and many other things. But like,
Yeah.
what we really like is that in a couple of seconds, you can discuss that
wow.
idea kind of immediately.
Yeah, this angle
There
is
you go.
nice. I think it's
Got some
funny.
benches,
It's
public
funny how
space.
it didn't quite get the scale, but like regardless of that, like it doesn't really matter because it gives you ideas. We spend a lot of time talking about the shape of these bike lanes where they meet the roundabout and stuff like that, and the condition of the first floor, which is obviously so important in city making. So like being able to get quick ideas on that and then remake them like appropriately to scale, etc., is huge for us. Oh, I like the
Funny stuff.
islands. Oh, they put
Yeah.
somebody in the top one. Yeah.
But yeah, you can go a bit more finite, right? So this is just kind of a general exercise. So for instance, yeah, it's just for what I was mentioning is just sometimes we use this at the beginning of a workshop, actually, just to allow people to make up their mind,
Right.
you know, just to understand kind of what do I want, how do I want. And then if you have a bit more kind of a stranger idea, you can still try here. So you can kind of put a prompt there. So what could be on this rooftop, guys? Somebody say something.
Yeah.
How would you like to
How
change the
about
rooftop?
well, we have a couple variations we do, like a cafe, and we do
And then like a walking track.
green roof, agriculture, a sky bridge. But what else? What haven't we put up there yet? Maybe
Solar panel tree.
solar panels. Yeah.
Don't forget my greenhouse over the whole community.
Oh yeah, greenhouse. What would you call it?
Like a yeah, it's just like
Biodome.
continuous greenhouse roof. It's like a biodome, but it's not a dome. Exactly. It's kind of
Yeah.
the same biodome-esque style, but I don't know how you would say that.
Hey, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, we've got a lot of ideas, as you can tell, in our community.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
It's kind of the top
And
down
you see
style.
here, yeah, you can put stars. So you see right now I start those images. So those tools are kind of a start. And that's what happens that later kind of people can access kind of a public web page where I can show you where it is. Actually, it's just down here.
That's really interesting because, like,
So there is
as we know, like,
Yeah.
it's hard to get people to show up to public engagement events, right? And so that's pretty interesting
Yeah.
that the people who did show up and create them could then share them with all these people that weren't able to come, but they could still sort of like have an input.
Yeah, exactly. And then people can vote. So they kind of exactly, if you can use the polling system kind of when we were in Helsinki, we have done it immediately, right? So because we wanted to take the decision kind of within the same day. But otherwise, exactly, you can also do it afterwards and so on.
How were
but this
you
is just
able
kind
to
of-
like it so many times?
Oh, yeah,
Can
because right
everyone
now
do
it's
that?
just no. Right now I'm just this is kind of my backend mode of everything. So
okay.
in a workshop we can say it's 3 times or 5 times, but it's never only one, because actually in a workshop people produce something like, so in Helsinki 25 people have produced more than 1,500 images.
Oh wow.
And of these 1,500 images, they have, let's say, selected about 50 or it was like 40. And then from this 40, we have kind of selected like 4. So yeah, because like you see, every time you click there, it's 4, 4, 4, 4. So in an hour and a half, you can generate several hundreds of images.
Yeah.
Quite fast, actually. But the fun thing is that, so what I'll show you now is more like when you just want to have a conversation, do something quick, something fast. Maybe it's an exhibition, maybe it's just, but then you can go kind of one level deep. So what you can do is that first you can usually kind of, if you really have a real project, let's say, like in Helsinki, right? So what I'll show you right now is more like for fun and for exhibitions. But if you have a real project, you want to first develop a concept. So let's start from a white canvas. So let's try to come up with a kind of a concept for that rooftop. Give me some ideas. So we had solar panels. What else we had?
Greenhouse.
So it was a rooftop with the greenhouse.
Or like a greenhouse roof. Let's see. What haven't we done yet? So we did an aeroponics system in our design, and then a rooftop cafe. What else have we done?
If you did the greenhouse roof and gardens together.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Those are greenhouse roof and rooftop gardens.
Yeah.
Like greenhouse, yeah, it's hard to say, yeah.
I think we should try this greenhouse thing, especially since Steve's idea and we haven't really tried that yet. So,
so now kind of first we can try different concepts and see if they come up at all. See this one.
What I like about this.
By the way, I'm so sorry. I'm standing so close to the screen. I can't seem to click on it where I focus on it.
Oh, really?
It's not working.
I would like to make it.
Yeah, so I have to stand right next to it to be able to see everything.
It's fine. It actually looks. It looks good. It looks like we're actually using it. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome. If you just arrived, we're just
I'm
having
French.
a meetup. Where are you joining us from?
That's the first time
First time in Spatial. Amazing.
for me.
Welcome. We're
Actually,
Thank you.
the second image is almost precisely what it would look like on a greenhouse on one of my my buildings. It's a little less structure than that, but yeah.
C'est construction. Okay. Yeah, well done.
Yeah. This is our website, and if
Yeah,
Even about that height
one
too,
that you've kind
from
of,
a roof.
Yeah.
Peux te déplacer si tu veux.
So once basically you have kind of developed the concept together, kind of that's the point. Like you can do these things in groups. You can do it, of course, alone, but you can do it in groups.
Yeah,
So let's
I would have liked to
what we
grab
want.
literally. I would have literally liked to grab that image from the previous page because it was so spot on. None of these are really relevant to my vision, but the previous page, damn,
yeah,
it's pretty good.
I see you've got some like in.
Okay, so let's try. So kind of the thing is that one.
Oh wow.
Oui. On fait.
Yeah, I'm using a different model right now. So we have different generative models. There is also DALL-E. So we also connect to the API of DALL-E. It's just kind of for me to see how different models kind of behave and choose the one that I prefer. For example, you see this model kind of produces a bit more drawing-like, like rendering-like, while another model that we have produces things that are more like kind of photorealistic. So I'll show you the difference now.
Top left or top right and bottom left are very interesting.
Yeah, there you go. See, this is more photorealistic. So the kind of the model A is more photorealistic, and model S it's a bit more like drawing.
I like
drawings
both.
like.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just get something different, let's say. But what you can do is that right now, if this is more or less what you want, great. Now we nailed it. So let's go here and let's put it up. So what you can do right now is that you can do the in-painting. So you can go and select the area where you want this rooftop. So you see that the kind of the prompt is still up there on the top. So now I'm just going to select, let's say, this area. And then generate, boom. Right, so kind of this is the process that we use when we have like a real project, right? So
That's
first you
amazing.
want to, test different ideas with the citizens and stakeholders, investors, whoever is there. If the concept is clear, now you go and apply it on the real photo. You don't even need to rewrite the prompt because it's already there. And for instance, you see now it's kind of flat because my selection is flat.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if I go kind of more, do something, I don't know, like this, let's see what happens. Here's where you need a bit of, not skills, but a bit of experience on using those.
Oh yeah, that did it.
Wow, look at that.
Oh, so the area you marked doesn't have to be perfect. The program
No, it doesn't have to
understands.
be.
That's great.
Yeah. So this one, this nice.
That's really cool. That deserves a clap.
Yeah, those are pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good looking. I mean,
For a reference
Yeah,
photo,
yeah.
I mean, like, I guess when you're 3D modeling stuff, like, a lot of times we collect references and we're not using them perfectly. We're just using them to get started. And, like, or even a lot of artists will, like, drag in photos, right? And sort of, like, make a collage before they start an art piece. And they just make really rough sketches, right? So for doing a rough sketch, this is, like, great. It gets your gears turning, right?
Well, basically, what I'm going for, anyways, is basically you would have a building like this, but then instead of there being a street next to it, you would just put another building like right up against it. Except, okay, there would be a street underneath it, but it would look like from above as if the buildings were just like lined up and parallel to each other. But in reality, there'd be only buildings in every other spot. That's not precisely what it is, but that's a close analog. So this would. So it's the idea of if you look from above, the city looks like a continuous, like sort of ribbed surface
like
made up of the tops of these greenhouses.
Yeah.
That look like this, sort of.
That's. I'd like to see. You could build it out now, pretty much. I mean, I'd like to see how it looks.
Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because if now you are the architecture office, you get this as an input, right? So you get this as an input to start the actual, drawings and renderings and so on. So you it's mostly to kind of nail down the idea.
Yeah.
Okay, what it is that we want to have on top of this building.
And then you have all your experience.
You don't really need to use it for.
Yeah. They know like how much weight the roof can support and all the other things you need to know to really design it. Yeah.
If you didn't start a picture or image that you generated previously, can you go back and do it, or is it a one-time? Oh, they're all still there, I guess.
They're all here. Yeah, everything we've done is kind of here. So there's kind of a gallery with all the images produced, and you can always get back to them. And I don't have it here now because it's computationally kind of expensive in that sense, but we can, when we export the images, we go in high resolution. So right now, those are like, I don't care if it's like 1,000 by 1,000 pixel or 700. This is just to keep the kind of, to keep it fast because, when you are dealing with like workshop with 100 people, you need speed because they need to test many ideas. However, when you kind of download the image, then we can download it kind of a high resolution, like HD format and so on. And that takes several seconds, let's say. So, but the idea is that we want to keep kind of the generation of each image like sub-seconds so that you can create like 6 images in like, 3 seconds. And then the one that you've chosen that you like the most, then you can basically kind of, you can download them. And there is even one app, so the developers, so Lucas Torno, you've always been building all the back end of this. He's also developed kind of the retro. This is already available actually, this app on the App Store. So this is interesting because this is kind of it's really kind of it's what's behind in a way. It's what kind of what's behind some UrbanistAI. So if I now put the same concept here, the difference is that this is more for creative work. So you can choose, let's say, canvas size, and you can also choose like style. So right now I can choose maybe, let's say, an oil painting. And not only applies the style, but it also applies the type of topologies that you would see in oil painting, right? So this is also really cool. So if you are creative when you're working with generative AI, this redraw app is pretty good.
It's called
as well.
Redraw
So you see,
AI,
there you
right?
go.
I think I found it on App Store. Redraw AI.
Yes, redraw AI. I think that all the tools that you see now on my on my screen might not be available to everyone on the app right now. But yeah, this is basically an app that is already out there. But it's super interesting. I mean, yeah, this is kind of a very nice way to create things. So I can change style like Bauhaus. See.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, two questions come to mind. How did you have to tame these models that you're using at all to make them optimized for like the urban design outputs? And also just like, how do you keep up with the pace of change of these new models and everything, and people's expectations about the results and stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, this is something that Luca could actually answer better, but kind of the long story short is that we use mostly open diffusion models. We don't use any API, so we are not kind of, yeah, you can see it here. I can choose if I want the DALI API, or, we could kind of plug this to any of the APIs. But what we have is that we have, I can actually show it. I think I have it somewhere in the intro. See if I have it. Where do I have it? Let me just check for a sec. Because I have that scheme. I have exactly that scheme that would help us. Just a second. We have GANs as well. So there is a generative model, and then there is the generative adversarial network that help us to kind of work with that model in the context that we want it to be. I don't find it now, but if you go on my own website, so if you go like here, you can find the layered representation. I think it's just here. Yeah, and then there is a presentation I gave a couple of weeks ago where you can find
Cool.
You can find the scheme. It's here actually. I think.
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Another question: how did you get started in all of this? Obviously, you've been doing urbanism work for a long time. What prompted you, so to speak? What prompted you to get into this project, and where do you see this going?
Yeah, so I've been working in urban planning actually with Christian as well. So we founded together Spin Unit about 11 years ago. I think he left now, but he was around here before. And he's there. I can see him. And we've been working for kind of municipalities and ministries for quite some time, for about more than 10 years. We do mostly urban analysis, so we do studies. Like right now, for instance, we're helping a city to make a new parking normative. So or we've been helping the ministry to make a study on the population. So we do this kind of stuff, and we simply notice in our practice that doing all these reports without having a vision of how cities would look like was kind of a bit, let's say, reductive. So we started to do some participatory planning, but it was, the methods were not great, right? You would have post-its, we tried with artists, even. So kind of, in general, we started UrbanistAI because we needed a tool for us originally, kind of for us to allow people to co-design their own city, so that we could actually get to know what they would like to see there. So we met with Lucas Tornaiuolo, who is the developer, so he's the IT engineer who's behind this. He was working with generative AI. He was doing an exhibition at the Venice Biennale, where he was feeding poetry, and the generative AI was producing walks around cities. It was very interesting. It's called Strolling Cities.
Oh wow, I have to look that
it's
up.
The project. Yeah, and it's kind of many years ago. No.
Was it at the Venice Biennale or the Venice Immersive?
The Venice Biennale, yeah, here it is. It's trollingcities.com. So here it is. And we are talking about years and years ago, right?
Oh,
wow. So he was doing this kind of work, and he was doing this kind of work. I would say, wow, this is nice for art. Can we it would be super interesting to actually use this for involving citizens. So instead of using poetry, using people's idea to generate
D'una città
scenarios.
non godi le 7 o le 77.
And that's basically how it started. So
wow.
That's pretty
so
cool.
It started with UrbanistAI, but really now it's more like UrbanistCI, being like collective intelligence, because you're using it as a tool to communicate the ideas of so many people.
Sticky note fatigue, which I can identify with.
Yeah.
I think that's by definition.
Nice.
It is kind of the power of collective intelligence. Basically, that it is the main need. Many people with many good ideas that are not included. So we want to try to get them out there,
Yeah,
so,
particularly what you're talking about
we just
want the public sector, right? And so with the public sector, the collective part becomes way more important, since it's almost always impossible to consult every single person in a city, right? And so that's why all these different schemes of engagement have come up, of like, how do we get a representative slice of the city or whatever. But I think AI is probably the most promising technology we have so far when it comes to collective intelligence, like sampling the real piece of the collective. But it still seems like we're really tip of the iceberg. So like, if you could see this developing the way the trajectory that AI is going now, what would be your dream tool of the future? Like, would it have the actual data from the entire city and all of our thoughts combined, like a custom model based on everything that is owned by the city, maybe? Or what's your dream scenario?
Yeah, well, my dream scenario is that we are in a place in which people can design those scenarios through emotions. So because right now they still need to be able to describe the physical space. So that's why we still need moderation. That's why we need those candy shop things. So that's why we still need this kind of prompt for that. Because they kind of, when people express themselves, they feel like, I would like to have these to feel safer, right? Or I would like this street to be children friendly, right? So they they speak through their emotions, and this is something that we not yet can convert to kind of design elements that easily, right? So if I would go in UrbanistAI and say, make this safer, like also the concept of safer is quite different in New York and in kind of Helsinki, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of
that would be a great thing, because otherwise I think
there's a lot of like fear and anxiety that using AI will kind of like take us away from our skills and like de-skill us, which I can identify with, and yet there's also part of this where because you have these categories in the candy shop sort of menu, and like the more that I use it, the more kind of literate I get in a lot of these urban design concepts, even if I'm not an urban designer. And I think of like GPS assisted technology, where the more you use GPS for a route, maybe eventually you learn the route, you don't need to use GPS anymore. Could you see this sort of raising the literacy for people's literacy around spaces and like spatial design to the point that you could just have better conversations even without AI?
I think that kind of, I can tell what we are seeing. What we are seeing is that people are becoming a bit more aware of what does it mean to design public space. Because their first ideas are always like, I don't know, let's put here a huge fountain, or let's put here a lot of bike parking places. And then they see it and like, oh, actually it doesn't really go. Okay, let's have a cafe, but like, so you can see actually they really struggle because they kind of, so my feeling is that using UrbanistAI, at least this kind of technology, it's also an interesting way for people to learn about urban design and being more aware of kind of how to design a city. But overall, I think this is a communication tool.
Just
So
having
UrbanistAI is a
being willing to
communication
change your
tool.
mind is huge. I mean,
Yeah.
having a strong feeling and then being willing to change
Yeah.
after you see it represented, visualized, I think that's like a huge step beyond some of the entrenched conflicts that we have right now, where it's mostly in the form of like people's language, having debates through language and black and white terms, right? So, I mean, this is why we're doing Spectra and using these virtual tools, but it's the same with the AI tools. I think it's like really. Do you agree that it's improving the conversations people can have?
Yeah, that's the aim. I mean, I strongly believe that the AI can help us in many things, but it doesn't really help us with innovation, because to innovate, you need basically different persons with different cultural background and different ideas negotiating onto something and finding a third. Kind of, out of two ideas, you find a third. And that third idea is what we want to kind of create in those meetings. So we want to have people kind of, in a way, even struggle. We want them to kind of negotiate different approaches. And then what comes out is going to be that the third space that both of them have not thought of their own. So I think that because these also the things AI you can really put two different AIs fighting each other and coming up with a new idea. I mean, maybe you can, but again, especially after COVID, we see that kind of the value of cities. It is exactly these moments of negotiations between people in real time. I mean, in real space. But by real space, actually, I don't really mean real space like tangible. Like where we are right now, it is also real space.
Yeah.
It is intangible, but it's a real space.
Yeah, I think yesterday I was at this workshop for digital placemaking workshop, and Daniel Latour had this definition of public space that was really nice, where it was like public space is contested space. So anything that's not your home, where you're absolute in control of it, is contested space. And so public space is about negotiation and conflict to some degree. And I guess tools like this that smooth that conflict over and help get to those third choices, that was such a nice wording, those third paths are really great and very welcome in the work that we're doing. So thanks so much for your presentation. We're at the end of our meetup. We have about a few minutes to mingle and chat. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to type in chat, say hi, exchange your info, and make sure to visit the UrbanistAI website. I know your main clients are cities, but someone may be living in one of these cities and they might be able to join one of these workshops you're doing. So if there's anything coming up, got anything in the next few months that you're doing?
We are basically having a couple of workshops actually with the United Nations Development Program. So in several cities in Eastern Europe. So with Pristina in Kosovo. And then we have something in Berlin, very interesting. So with City Lab Berlin. So they're going to kind of bring UrbanistAI in different neighborhoods. So like with a van, going and ask people like, how would you like your street to look like? So this is going to be super cool. I'm super excited to see how this will look like. So we have kind of quite a few things going on right now with public space, and spring is coming, so it's a good moment to reimagine how to change streets.
Indeed, and even get out there and take some photos then and bring back to these tools. And even though we're in virtual space, we love to get out. Our whole point is to try to get out and build things, and so this is just a great starting point, launching pad for ideas. Thanks so much for coming. Stay in touch. We'll be publishing a video for the talk, and next week come back on Thursday. We've got an actual virtual placemaking workshop happening right here with the architect of Spectra, Andrea Kojikaru, in collaboration with placemaker Joseph Conning, and they will be hosting a virtual placemaking workshop on the theme of rituals out of this intersection. So it should be really interesting. They're both super imaginative. Joseph is a placemaker that has like a narrative storytelling method focused on stories, narrative, and Andrea is just taking virtual architecture to new dimensions, and it's probably going to explode our minds. But looking forward to see everyone next week. Check in on Discord. If you're not already a member of the Spectra Discord, the link is right here outside the entrance to your right. And then there's a little survey bubble here next to this table where you can take a survey about Spectra and what you think of our project and community. I'm once again Nick Kaufman. I'm community manager. This is Matt on the Spectra team for governance lead, and we've had Damiano Cerrone from UrbanistAI, co-founder, speaking with us today. And thank you, everyone, for coming. Looking forward to keeping in touch on your city modding projects.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Have a good day,
definitely great stuff.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite.
I said I could have
talk
cut and
so
pasted
far.
right from the stuff you had there, so
Yeah,
give myself an overhead
I
perspective.
guess the takeaway is
Would've been like, yeah.
we should open an AI channel in our Discord so that we can play around this stuff a lot. Maybe have to experiment with linking a couple tools up to our Discord.